So in 2023, USCIS came out with guidelines, the Postmark guidelines. According to those guidelines, whatever date was printed on your shipping label, say I send an application to FedEx today, the shipping cutoff for FedEx is 3 p.m. But if I sent it today, the label print date would be March 5th, and it would get there, say, on March 7th. USCIS would then consider March 3rd or March 5th, that is today's date, as the date to verify the version of the form. The Postmark rule basically said that if your application was in transit or in process or with the shipper, you got the benefit of the doubt. You could use a previous version of the form if the rules had changed. This rule was archived 48 hours ago. We are not sure if it applies or not. As you can see there, the notice says the archive contains outdated information that may not reflect current policy or programs. The fact that this was taken down is an indication that that Postmark rule may not be able to save us if we ship an application today, say it gets there in 2 days, and while it's in air, the form version changes. We have no idea how that plays out. We're about to find out, but I think it's very important to stay on top of things and understand that that savior rule that was in place is kind of gone. And there was no notice before it was revoked, no information provided. We are going to find out as weeks go by how the contractors at USCIS are interpreting these rules, whether the Postmark rule is still in play or it's completely gone. Now, if you send the 526E and that version is correct, the government will process the 526E petition and kick back your entire adjustment of status packet. The whole thing will not come back. However, if your 526E is correct and your 485 is correct, but your 765, which is your work permit's outdated, then the 765 will be rejected. Again, going back to you lose 6 to 8 weeks of time, and you do not get to retain the priority date because the government just lays the blame on your feet, the investor's feet, the attorney's feet. So it's just mainly loss of time that would be a problem. And if, say, the next bulletin, one of these categories retrogress, you lose the ability to concurrently file your application. That is a huge loss to clients that are filing that have children involved or that have experienced layoffs, because it does not give you the age lock protection. It does not give you the ability to stay in the US. It does not stop your 60-day clock after layoff. There are huge repercussions to this. I highly recommend investors as well as attorneys to stay on top of the versions. Check every morning before shipping out your files. Check the following day after shipping out your files, because we have no idea how this is going to play out. If you haven't seen your check cashed by week 3, you can assume there's a problem. If by week 3 your check isn't cashed, the first recommendation we give to our clients is call USCIS, provide your alien number, provide your full name, provide your date of birth, ask if there's a rejection notice on file. Because if there is a rejection notice on file, you know that your attorney is expecting the entire packet back to them. At that point, you have to make a decision whether you want to ship another one or you just want to wait for the packet to come back. So one of the ways you can find out is track those checks that are being cashed by USCIS, because once the check is cashed, you know that the file's been accepted. This is why, practice tip, we tell our clients not to use cashier's check, because you have no idea when a cashier's check is cashed. We recommend using personal checks. Another thing we don't recommend using currently is credit card authorizations, because the credit card companies are flagging those charges as fraud. And if it does get charged as fraud, and the credit card company denies that charge, the petition comes back again. And again, the only way to find out is to call USCIS, say every week, and ask if there's a rejection notice on file. The problem here is that if the government ends up accepting Form I-526E, that's the first form to be accepted and processed by the government. That takes about 2 to 3 weeks. 4 weeks after that, they start processing the 485, 131, and 765. If in 4 weeks, the policy that USCIS determines is accurate is, hey, we're going to reject it even though it came in on March 3rd, what's going to happen is these applications are going to require a refile, and you do not get to retain the priority date. So it is extremely, extremely important for all of us to monitor these dates. Another alternative approach is, there were 2 updates back to back. You might as well just wait until next week to see if the next form to be updated is 526E, the form after that is G28, and the form after that is 765. Those are the only 3 forms that are pending updates now. It may be in the client's best interest to just wait to see if all those forms are updated going forward. And if you're going to ship, then I would have clients have 2 copies of your sealed medical reports, 2 sets of photographs, and 2 sets of checks with your attorney. If you're in a rush to file, if you have a child aging out, make sure that you have 2 sets of everything. It's a little bit of extra expense, but it saves you that 6 weeks of lost time. What we ask our clients to do is, hey, give me a brief summary of where your money is going to come from. And that could just be as short as 6 sentences. I'm going to get $250,000 from HELOC. The home was purchased in February 2014. I'm going to get $400,000 from liquidation of RSUs. I work for Palo Alto Networks. I'm going to get a $50,000 loan from Wells Fargo. It's an unsecured loan, right? And I'm going to use $150,000 from my savings account, and I have a Bank of America account where I get my salary, and I moved all that money to my Amex high yield savings account. What that does is it gives us enough information to create a customized checklist. There is no one-size-fits-all checklist for all the clients, but when we have that information, during that call, we're now able to generate like a random list for the client that'll say, a comprehensive list that'll say, we're gonna need, 7 years of your bank statements, 4 years of your brokerage account statements in quarterly format, 7 years of your W-2, 7 years of your tax returns. It really helps the attorney see your source of funds, and it helps you after the call to, just gather all the documents together.